I'm not going to hide this anymore. I'm a state communist. I believe that the state should be extremely big in order to both protect the people and curb stomp the people. I believe that the state exists for the people, by the people, against the people. I look at how the state is now, and it's basically co-opted by the private industry. And that's the only reason I don't like it. I don't hate the IRS for coming to people's houses and taking money right out of their pockets, taking their house and car and shit to compensate for their unpaid taxes. I hate the IRS because the IRS is a private institution under the guise of the state. I hate the FBI because the FBI more so serves the private industry than the will of the state. They worry about drug cartel and all this other bullshit that has to do with money as opposed to the good of society and the good of the world in general. I enjoy the concepts of child services that takes away children from bad parents, but again, child services is a private institution. It is not the state. It is merely the facade of a state. 90% of what we think is the state is just a private corporation that is really big and has its own selfish motivations for why they do what they do. And that is unfortunately what this country was founded upon, was the idea that everything be privatized, because our forefathers were a bunch of feudal overlords who had slaves and were just sick of the minuscule taxation they had to receive. They were just a bunch of butthurt rich assholes that, wanted no inhibitions whatsoever, wanted a completely unregulated market to do whatever the fuck they wanted. But they also construed this clusterfuck, the fuckocracy as I call it, to keep themselves free. So the ideas of the Constitution and the ideas of, several branches of government was for freedom, but it wasn't for us. It was for them. So yeah, that's why the corporations never have to worry about going to jail. That's why they never have to worry about, the constraints of the law. But that doesn't necessarily mean it applies to us. That just means it applies to them. And they do know what freedom is, but they're not willing to share it. So you have to look at that, and you have to think the Constitution is true, but it has to apply to everybody. The state is true, but it has to apply to everybody. That is what people fail to understand. The egalitarian principle. And that is what I talk about. So yes, I exalt the state. I love the state, but it is not the way the world works today. It is not the way the world has genuinely worked throughout history. And I'm sure there's examples of where it has, and you would not agree that it is always just or great, but it is better. And that is all I aim for. I'm not aiming for perfection here. I am aiming for better. And when things are better, then you can progress. You can get even better. Because when things are good, the environment's good, you can, work to take out all the clunks and all the glitches in your system. You can work on the bad once you have an egalitarian principled society that enforces the law equally, and no private individual or institution is above that. And, from there, whatever bad laws or bad social principles you have, whatever culture needs working on, that can all be dealt with later. That you can just, dull those round edges. And, I don't know how else to explain this. Communism is a progressive ideology. It is something that transitions into. You're not going to start off communist. You cannot literally be a communist. You have to aspire to communism. And that's where I think a lot of the other people get it wrong. Especially the liberal left, who are the most reactionary of all. I honestly think that a bunch of these conservative, retarded Republicans serve the cause of communism better than they realize themselves. They don't even realize they're doing it, but they're useful idiots. And especially the neoconservatives and Christian right. But I'm not going to get into that here. What I'm generally talking about is how, yes, when it comes to humanity, the state is the ultimate good. And you'll probably disagree with that, but then again, you probably think it's okay that a private corporation get to fuck everybody in the ass. And you think that it's okay to be censored and suppressed and treated like garbage by a private institution. So honestly, I don't care what you think.